Holly's getting a little rambunctious, but hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Father Knows Something. Tonight it's Justin, myself, and Holly, and it's a special day or a special week for Holly.
Not today.
No, on November 6th. Everyone mark November 6th. She doesn't have a Facebook that you can wish her happy birthday, but Holly's going to have her 16th birthday, which means she has completed 16 years of life on this wonderful planet of ours with us and our homes and with her mixed mommies and daddies. And here we go. So that being said, Holly's doing great. She's healthy. And I thought we'd bring her back and let you all see her.
And
yes. Oh, my socks. Well, I just replayed the same Holly socks, which you can't see. And now I sank down doing this, and we don't want Holly to jump off the table, and now she's just decided to lay down. All right.
We'll see how that goes.
All right. So we have what's the theme tonight?
All day we've been watching all these games because it's Sunday.
It's football Sunday.
And speaking of games, we're going to go into the long game.
The long game.
From relationships that, are relatively new or relationships that people have been in for a long time. All these stories are looking forward to the long game.
Okay. So there's no negativity of the short game. It's all the long game.
It depends how you look at it.
Okay.
Whole bunch of different situations here.
All right. Well, I'm going to sit here and rub Holly and keep her happy while you read me the first batter up.
Okay. How can I, 29 female, get my boyfriend, 28 male, to communicate issues to me? Not just emotional issues between us, but he also tends to arrange his schedule without me included. He's a freelancer and tends to book gigs right before or right after events with me. He once had to miss an event with my family after not seeing them for a few months, because we live quite far away, and already missing 2 other events with them. The most recent was him feeding our cats melatonin because they were being nosy and he needed to sleep for a gig the following day. I told him sternly beforehand to not attempt to give them any before they turn 1 and without a vet present because they may have a deadly allergic reaction, and I was not willing to take that risk. Those cats mean everything to me. I have had them since they were days old. They were found in the streets malnourished with eye infections, and I went through a lot to get them happy and healthy. They just turned 1 a few days ago. It broke my heart when he told me he gave them melatonin twice before without even telling me. From the time frame, it means he gave it to them months before they turned 1. I screamed at him, telling him how could he have taken such a risk. He saw it not as such a big deal since he did all the research and they turned out fine in the end. I got aggravated and told him, what would you be saying to me if they did not turn out okay? What if they had reacted terribly and died? What would you have said to me then? He stayed quiet, felt terrible, and apologized over and over, and he told me how much I and our little family mean to him. I love him and I know he is doing his best. What can I do to help him better communicate with me? Ideal outcome? I want to stay with him and just want to know what to do to get him to just talk to me. I'm open-minded and understanding, and I don't mind catering a little more to him to make us work.
So, first thing that she was talking about was the fact that he books gigs right after that they're supposed to meet up with their family. Is he a musician? Or when she says gig, not that it really matters.
It kind of sounds like it, but other people also use that term for like just a hangout or something. But
his priorities drift real quick and easy for what he wants to roll on to next.
Yeah, it just seems like these are a few examples of how he's not communicating.
Or doesn't care.
True.
Because one that would care would take a little extra time in communicating.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you specifically said, don't do this to the cats. Don't, you think that the guy would respect you. And then he said, I did the research. I doubt he looked. I mean, I wasn't there. But do you really think he went and did research to see if it's okay to give the cats melatonin, or he just says it's good enough for me? I'm going to give it to the cat.
It's probably a different definition of research, just like a quick Google search. But I mean, it's like she said, you never know how they're going to take to it. So
Right.
maybe it works for some cats, but some others are, I don't know.
Clearly, he didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
He did his own thing. He was thinking about himself. He wanted to sleep. He didn't want to hear the cats meow in the morning. He said, I'm going to drug these suckers so, they're not going to bug me. It's all about him.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation. And did she say how long they've been together?
And the additional info, they've been together a year and a half, but I've known him since 2016. We've been good friends before starting to date.
Well, think the real people come out about a year and a half after starting to date. You'll see their real behaviors. And, this is a behavior. And this is where you have to start saying, am I willing to go along with it? I mean, I really think it's great that I think she's had conversations with him in the past.
Yeah.
Because she said that he's very apologetic. He's compassionate, doesn't want to hurt his little family. Very sweet, considerate kind of guy to talk. Is it sweet talk or is it bullshit? And only one that can really tell that is you. You can tell it by hearing what he has to say, seeing the behaviors, and see what goes on the next time something happens. But if it continues, it's evidently not going to change. So you'll notice a significant change if you have the conversation, he really pays attention. And if he doesn't, this is the time where you can say, you're a great guy and I really do love you, but this is not what I want for the rest of my life. And the fact that she had to yell at him, scream at him, I mean, that would work about 22, tenths of a second. It's 2.2 seconds for me in a relationship where people yell at each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not what my design of a relationship is. And if it's your design and you guys like to have that sparring matches, go yell and kiss and make up. Maybe I hear the more passionate the yelling, the more passionate the makeup. But
it's definitely a thing for some people.
I've been in relationships where they're yelling and screaming. To me, it doesn't work for me. But you have to decide if it works for you.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change one way or the other. And if you don't stop it now and come to a terms and understand one another on this clearly, you're going to have issues going on with your life. And maybe it's time to, do the do-si-do and change partners again.
Yeah. I mean, even it can be really tough a year and a half in, especially as you start to think, well, family and all the further stages with someone.
Mm-hmm.
But if something is, again, communication is one of the pillars.
Mm-hmm.
If one of the pillars has cracks in it and it's not working, that's really your foundation.
Yeah, and I was talking about integrity of a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
If you are with somebody and you think you have a great foundation and they lie to you, then you have a fractured foundation. One good earthquake and the house comes down.
That's right.
So I would consider that. I'm not telling you what to do as far as keeping him, getting rid of him, but I'm certainly going to say you should have a conversation and then open your eyes and say, is this what I want? And really look at it for the long, as you say, the long game.
That's right.
Because that's what it's about. And this might be the beginning of the long game, or it can be the end, and there's the longer game is somebody else.
Yeah. So I also like what you said, though, about, you can make it very apparent this time with a serious conversation,
mm-hmm.
and then monitor. Mm-hmm. And then you can see how that goes through the next couple months or however long feels right to you. And if you see this as a trend,
mm-hmm.
then you kind of know what you're signing up for.
And then you start, figuring out as you're keeping score in this relationship, and it's more of a score keeping. That's when you really realize that this is not the relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in a relationship now, a year and a half, and there's been a couple of occasions where there was just some things that I may have said, have spoken to her and said, I'm just not into this.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is going to be what our life's going to be, we have to really make a change.
Yeah.
And she says, no, I understand what you're saying. And, this isn't that important to me and I can not have that behavior. It's not what I would want either.
Yeah.
And there were some changes, but those didn't come out until a year and a half, year and 3 months, year and 4 months. And so you start, looking probation, like a probationary period after this to see, did I catch something that is going to haunt me for a while?
Yeah.
And do I need to make that change on a more permanent basis? It doesn't mean you don't love that person or care for that person. It really is, do you want to live with that person for the rest of your life?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. If you're done.
Yeah, no, that was a good little warm up there.
Okay.
All right. Number 2.
2.
Hi, Jerry, Justin, Morgan, and Holly.
There she is.
Hi.
I started listening to 2 Outtakes over a year ago and Father Knows Something as soon as it came out. I've told all my friends about your 2 podcasts and they all love them too.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Appreciate that.
To get to my situation, I, female 22, have been with my boyfriend, male 22, for, yet again, a year and a half.
The magic number.
We met in college and graduated this past December. Well, I got a full-time job back at home in February, and my boyfriend worked until he left for the military in May. We grew up in the same area. All in all, his training will be around a year to a year and a half long, and all of it will be very far from me. I will be able to go see him occasionally, but with how expensive travel is, and my limited PTO, and how busy he will be, the opportunities will be few and far between. Originally, we were planning on moving in together and getting engaged after he was done, next fall. But now he said over a phone call this weekend that he wants to do a courthouse wedding now and do a big wedding later so I can move up and live with him in about a month. If you are not familiar with military housing, they pay for off-base housing if you are married and you get a bigger paycheck due to having a dependent, i.e. me. I know that I want to marry him 100%, but I'm torn because I've always dreamt of having a surprise engagement and big wedding with all our family and friends. However, I love and miss him more than anything and just want to be there with him. The distance has been hard and it's only going to get harder for both of us. I've only brought it up to my mom so far, but she is adamant that we wait. I'm just torn because I want to be able to be with him now, but don't want to look back and regret not having the dream wedding and proposal because even if we have a big wedding next year or the year after, I fear it won't be the same. I also worry about not having any support from others like our family and friends. At the end of the day, being with him is the most important part, but these other things are important to me too. Any advice is appreciated.
He's looking at the big picture, and he also knows that you're a major part of his life. And to have him, he feels to have her not with me absolutely is crushing his heart. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, I'm not this guy's conscious, but it certainly sounds like he's being very proactive and saying, I understand you want the big wedding. I understand all this, but, I don't want to be without each other. Mm-hmm. There's just no way I can do this. And he's trying to go forward and build your life. So together, your life building has begun. I would look at the fact of doing the courthouse, marriage and really, plan for your wedding when it comes back and you're convenient and have that wonderful, I'm looking for the word, but basically the replay of the vows and doing a wonderful wedding, party afterwards. I have a good friend of mine who, during COVID shut everything down and even shut down her work.
Yeah.
And she had to carry on her insurance. And the way that it was structured, they wanted to be sure that she was covered with insurance. So they said, we got to get, and they already were engaged.
Yeah. And
so he said, if we can get married, it'd be great, but you couldn't get married in the beginning of COVID. And I was watching the news and I knew they told me their issue. And I said, wow, I couldn't believe it. Anaheim, Orange County was doing as much as they used to do, hockey games at the pond where the Ducks played. They now were doing weddings in the parking lot in little sheds.
Wow.
And it was on Thursdays from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, they would bring the justices of the pieces out And they would do this. And I called her up. I said immediately, I said, Carla, Chip, you can get married this Thursday. And they said, what? And I go, no joke. Go to the ticket booths at the pond. And so they said, well, if you'll go be the witness, we'll go do it. And so we went down to the pond. I was the witness and they got married. But the thing was, no one could know.
Yeah.
Don't share it with anybody. And then 2 years later, because COVID postponed the wedding the first time when they had a plan for it.
Right.
And she got to put out as far as she could. And about 4 months ago, we went down to, all of us went to Texas where his family was, and we had a wedding. I actually performed I mentioned this in another show.
Yeah,
I performed.
yeah.
I played the justice of the peace. I got ordained online. So
these days.
So cut them a little slack. And I understand what your dreams are and wishes. But as you're going to find out in life throws us curveballs. And it doesn't always work the way we plan it. You have to kind of adjust for it. You got to be flexible, and you got to, kind of be water, form to the shape of the bowl. And I think in this case, it sounds like you got all the right things, and he's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'll say. It does make sense to do it financially. As a team, it makes sense going forward. You're making a decision for not only your future, but your present to support your future. And I'll just read, ideal outcome, just having unbiased advice on what I should do. I know I just want to be with him 100%, but I don't want to regret, my choice to either marry now and get to be with him, or wait and just be struggling through the distance. Anything else, I want to note that the big proposal, engagement, and wedding is not something materialistic, just how I've always pictured and wanted my experience to be, but I know that marriage is much more than that. I just want the time to soak in the engagement and celebrate with family and friends at a wedding. I know I mentioned my full-time job, but I am feeling pretty unfulfilled in it, so I wouldn't mind having to find a different job. And finally, I've looked into moving close to him and getting my own apartment without having to be married, but I can't afford it with how expensive rent is. And so, with all this in mind, I think it makes sense to do the courthouse wedding. Now, the other piece of it is the dream proposal. And I think he could still find a way to propose, but he's already moved. He's already away at military training, and she's worried about just even being able to see him. So I don't know how, you kind of already did the courthouse thing, but you could still do that in the future, and then of course have your big wedding. There's no reason not to. So I think really the issue is it's not so much like making this big choice. It's just, I want it to do it the right way.
I have an idea.
And so it's but I just think it's the mix of the two. I think it's, you do what makes sense as a team, and then you also can still go through all the regular traditions afterward, and it's just all how you go into it, I think.
So let's do a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to go on for a year and a half. Basically, he's in Hell Week for a year and a half. Is that correct?
It seems like it.
Okay. So we do the courthouse wedding under the following, rules and regs. In 1 year, 6 months, 1 day, I hope that you will figure out how to perform a real proposal to me. Then we are going to have our wedding. You can make a game out of it, something fun, but certainly let him know that this is important to you, and you recognize that it's not going to happen right now, but you really do want something that's going to be special.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind, my love. I need something to be special for me. And I know you got this shit to do right now, and I understand that, but don't forget what's important to me too.
It will all work. It's just, you got to make the smart choices to give up a little to gain a lot.
And things in your life could change so drastically. You don't know you can conceive a child during this period of time. And let me tell you, that's the most magical thing in the world when you're ready for that. And when that news comes. And so there's all kinds of things in your life that you are going to really, really experience. And and you're kicking it. It's like starting the Super Bowl. You're doing the kickoff.
That's right.
So we wish you luck, and certainly touch base and let us know how it goes for you. And all our blessings, and go for it.
Okay.
Let's go ahead. Holly liked that one too, you can tell.
She's pumped. She's excited. Okay, number 3.
Yep.
Hi, Dad. I, female 21, just started dating this guy, male 21, about 5 months ago. So it's very new.
Yeah, we have a year before the 1.5 year mark.
That's right. I had recently got out of a 6-year relationship when I met him. I'm in my senior year of undergrad, and he is in the military. In about 1.5 years, I will be starting grad school, and he'll be getting out of the military and going back home, about 12 hours from where we are right now. Whenever I'm with him and he talks about his hometown, I just get so sad because I just feel like it's going to end, and I can't enjoy the present with him because I'm worried about how upset I'll be when it does end. I don't know where I'm going to grad school yet, so it's not like it's decided that I wouldn't be near him, or if things got very serious, he wouldn't move to be near me. But it's not knowing that kills me. His home is near a lot of really good schools, so there is a high chance I could end up near or in his state. But I also don't want to choose a school based off of him because we are so young. I really like this guy. I never felt this way about my previous relationship, but I also want to be independent and not just choose a school that's close to him to avoid breaking up or doing long distance, even though that decision is so far away right now. I know this is all in my head and I'm not living in the present, but all I can think is that we're destined to not work out. But I also know it would definitely won't work out if I constantly am worried about the relationship ending. He's truly the sweetest man, and I can already tell he cares so deeply for me, and I do for him as well. He's incredibly supportive, and I feel silly to even think that we might have a future because of our ages, but I still secretly do. I haven't mentioned any of these concerns to him because I'm afraid of sounding crazy.
She's a planner, isn't she?
That's kind of what it seems like.
You're going to have to, my thought is you're going to have to just live life for day to day and for what it is now. It's nice to think about tomorrow. The good news is that the past isn't haunting you. So we're done with the past. Don't worry about the future. Live today and just see where it goes and it takes you. You're way too caught up putting yourself into this dwelling of what's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Take it day by day. See if you guys grow. Stay honest with him. Let him know that, this is on my mind. I'm trying not to let it get in the way because I just want to let us grow and have a good time. But, in about a year or in 6 months or 8 months, and hoping that we're together, let's, we might not need to have a conversation. You have no problem keeping that to yourself right now either and not add any more of that pressure.
Yeah.
Because as far as I would be concerned is that everyone knows what's going on in the future. You just have to see where you are today in day-to-day life and how you're getting along and how you grow. If you're growing, typically he's not going to want to let it go away either. But if he feels as wonderful as you feel about this in a year, I don't think you have an issue. You guys will start making those choices and those thoughts and those decisions at that time.
So have you, I'm sure, in your 65 years, you've
65.
been in some mental spirals before.
I have.
Where you get all wrapped in it and you can't seem to get out. What has worked for you in those times?
Let's talk about some of those times. I, at the age of 17, started to travel for a company.
Yeah.
And I was out of town meeting people consistently and starting relationships. And I had a relationship here that was long distance. And then when that broke up, I was all over the place. I mean, everywhere. I mean, I was having I met a girl in Mississippi. When I saw that, my stint in Mississippi was going to be really about 6 months. And I met her, I think I got there in, July, and I met her in September. Maybe I met her in August, actually. And, when I left and I knew I was moving away, and I said, I don't want to be without you.
Yeah.
And I realized I was in love with her, and I went and I proposed, and I wanted to marry her. But I knew that my business and my offices were in Los Angeles. My home was in LA. And I said, how is your feelings about moving to Los Angeles? And she said, I'm fine with that. She had a child too, a 3-year-old. And off to LA we moved. And we were going to have a life here. And on the plane, it unwound.
Yeah.
And she just really realized that we were from 2 different lifestyles. There was someone that she had seen and was curious about. And she said, if I'm curious, then I'm not in love really with Jerry. And it unwound. So, it wasn't as strong as we thought. There's times when I went to Kentucky or I was in Minnesota. I met Morgan's mom in Minnesota, and I had property and real estate, but I wasn't really ready to give her up so that changed my direction, what I was going to do in my life. I mean, there was a lot of, you find out as you go through these relationships, when they really anchor you down, what you planned for and what you ended up doing are total opposite directions.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, I don't know if you ever thought you were going to come out here, fall in love, and want to spend your life out here.
I mean, I made the mistake of staying in school in Minnesota for school, I feel like. I mean, I love where I'm at now, but I definitely still feel that void of going to a big school out of state and having that experience.
Yeah.
But that was kind of similar to this.
Yeah. And look what you get. You certainly learned, had life experiences that made you part of who you are. And let me tell you, you're a fine guy.
But then I didn't make that mistake again, right? Because at the end of college, it was, nope, to New York I go. And then in New York, we didn't want to leave, but we had to for, career-wise. So made the move to LA. So I think you have to go through maybe almost feeling like you messed up a choice about this kind of situation to then be like, you don't have any tolerance for it later. But the other thing that I was thinking is, I think the best thing to do is it's good to think forward and plan, but maybe not so far, because you still it doesn't even sound like you have a list of schools yet. So it's almost like you need to.
She's only 6 months into this relationship too.
That is true. But at the same time, if she's feeling very serious about it, really what you got to do is, as I read through this, I think the biggest part that stuck out to me is that you do not want to choose a school based on this relationship. No. You don't want that to impact it at all. So I think you just need to start figuring out the school situation and then assess this later. We're trying to tackle too much in one decision. If some of these closer schools stay in your mix, then that's great. But make sure you're going there 100% because it has the best program, or it's better than these schools for XYZ. And then, you have the added bonus that you could see the rest of this relationship through. But that's kind of the biggest point I'm seeing here is choose based on the school. And
then he may make some decisions regarding what your needs are at that time too. We just,
I mean, you never know. When I first met Morgan, we were a few months in and she's like, yeah, so I think for school, I'm going to do this travel OT thing and I'm going to be in a bunch of different cities for months and months. And I was like, say what? And I was kind of taken aback, and I started planning ahead in my mind and being like, oh my God, is this going to do XYZ? And here we are 3.5 years later. So it's
and she did travel. She was away for 6 months back in Palm Desert.
But that was Palm Springs, I'm saying it was initially all around the US, potentially other countries. And I was just like, oh, wow. Cause I remember we were in a cab ride home one night from a bar or an Uber or something. And I remember her talking to the Uber driver, someone about it. And I was just this shock came over me. I'm like, what? No, that's not that's not what I thought was happening. But then you just kind of, even then you can have feelings like this, but then you kind of just stick with it day to day. And she didn't have to even, she went to Palm Springs. It's an hour away.
My advice to you, don't put yourself into a tailspin yet.
Yeah.
Keep everything like you're doing in your mind, but the biggest thing is to see if he continues to be your knight in shining armor, and if you're his, is it Guinevere?
Huh?
Is it Guinevere? Is it Guinevere? Is she like the princess or like, I don't know. My fairy. I was never big on fairy tales, but I think that Sir Lancelot, was it Guinevere?
Are you talking about an actress?
No, it was a story
Oh,
about Sir Lancelot, and I think Guinevere was the princess. I'm not sure. You might have to cut all this out.
Yes.
Wow. Don't worry, our listening public will correct me. They're very good at that.
Wife of Arthur,
Yeah, King Arthur.
best known in Arthurian
Okay.
romance through the love that his knight Sir Lancelot bore for her.
And she was Guinevere, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So look, like
Queen
I said,
of Britain.
very good. Boy, I'm even doing better than I thought. Wow. Anyways, let it organically grow and see where you are. And
School first.
I'm really glad that you found a guy that you were able to totally forget about the guy of 6 years. That past is just gone, and this is really nice. So let's see where it goes.
Okay.
Next.
Next. Okay, number 4.
Next.
We're doing well today. This is good. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Jerry, Morgan, and Justin, and just want to shout out a special happy birthday for Holly.
How did they know?
I don't know. Morgan must have mentioned it. I, 23 female, and my boyfriend, 23 male, recently moved in together after dating for almost 6 years.
Wow.
Things are great. We have good communication and get along great. He really is my best friend. My problem is that I like to keep a tidy home. For example, I do dishes as soon as I finish eating, and I go around and tidy the house at least once a day. My boyfriend is not like this. He leaves clothes all over the house, on the floor. He also leaves dishes in the sink, and his version of cleaning up is not the same as mine. What has prompted me to write in was that I asked him to do the dinner dishes last night. He said they were done. I went to make my coffee after he had left for work, and all the dishes were in the sink, with the empty dishwasher 2 feet away. I know this isn't a huge issue, but we both work full-time jobs. He works in EMS and is at work for 48 to 72 hours at a time, and it's exhausting for me to always be the one cleaning up. Any advice on how to approach him and have him respond positively instead of feeling attacked?
It's hard. You got to pick your battle. First, I'm going to start by saying pick your battles. And are you prepared as you go to step number 2 of that statement? Are you prepared to break up with this most beautiful guy of 6 years because of the cleaning issue? That's another thought. Then you go into the rules of being considerate. I know that I live with Morgan, and my eyes are not what they used to be, so I don't see everything that is out there. And when it comes to the kitchen, I love to make sure that my dishes are washed and put away. After I cook a meal, my pot is clean before I eat. While it's cooling down, I do my pot. That's just me. Morgan has a different framework. Morgan cleans his house because I don't see and I don't really pay attention to what's going on the floor. And she's frustrated with me. So, you try to voice the concern and you try to be considerate of one another. I would probably say my biggest issue with my disasters, which helps me get cleaned up, is when I have a place to put everything. So if you wanted to go organize this place once and for all and say, this is where this is going to go, this is where this goes, and this is where this goes, and can you help me keep those things in that place? That's a positive way of doing it, because I know my biggest problem, and because I can be a windstorm. I mean, if you think that the tornado from Twister is bad, Jerry can be pretty bad too. And so when I literally have a place to put everything and get organized, I'm able to sustain keeping everything clean and in an orderly place. So help facilitate that for him in his lack of doing it, or do it together. Say, we're going to take this weekend and we are going to take everything off the shelves and let's put it away where you want it.
Yeah.
So we do it together. I don't throw any of your stuff away. You know where everything is. And if there are things that we don't need anymore, we can get rid of it. 6 years is long enough that you guys are doing this together. And that's how I would skin this cat.
Yeah, I 100% agree, especially after having many different sets of roommates over the years. At some point with roommates, you know an end is coming. So you're just kind of like, screw it. I don't care anymore. It's not worth my energy to even say anything because I'll be done with college in 6 months and it doesn't matter. No reason to like set up this whole new structure. But in this sense, yeah, I don't think this is breakup worthy. I think this is very easy to come to a consensus on.
Right.
And there's a little bit of give on both sides. I mean, you compensate, you just come together in a way where you establish a system. And honestly, maybe if you, because in your anything, so in the additional info, I do acknowledge that he is not expected to uphold my standards of cleaning, but I would like more effort on his part. And so what I think is cool about that is, yeah, you could definitely get him to be a better team player.
Yeah, I would.
But if you are such the cleaner and you have different standards, there are certain aspects to that where you can just go like knock yourself out.
It's going to be easier for her if he puts his stuff away. It's going to ultimately be easier for her to go clean.
Yeah, but it's more mutual things too. It's like, yeah, the clothes is one thing, right?
Well, it's a big thing. And dishes in the kitchen, it's a big thing.
Yeah, and so it's just like after 6 years, you're just moving in. These are just the little bumps in the road to figure out how to live together. But this is not a relationship problem, at least not yet.
I would certainly go to him and say, if today is the first of the month, I would say, sweetie, can you block the weekend of the 20th off? And he'll say, why? You go, because I'd like to do something together. And this is what's on my mind. And it will really help me, put me in a better frame of mind with regards to helping us keep organized. It's going to be better for both of us. And it's going to help our relationship.
Yeah, you just need to agree on a standard.
And once you do that, I think that, I would respond to that. That would, and I only can give advice to you guys on something that I would respond to because I can't tell you what other people respond to. So,
yeah.
So I could be full of shit, but I think that might be something that I would try.
Cool. Number 5? 5? 4? 5?
I'm not counting pause.
The more we do this show, the less I can count.
That's okay. Let's keep
I think we're on 5.
Rolling along. Rolling along. Singing our song.
Hi, Jerry, Morgan, and Justin.
Okay.
I, 24 female, and my boyfriend, 25 male, have been dating for 3.5 years. In the past couple of weeks, I've been feeling anxious about our relationship because I feel it's not growing or moving forward. What I mean by that is, every time the conversation about moving in together, marriage, or children comes up, my boyfriend says it's too soon or it'll happen one day. Finally, this week, I told my boyfriend he needs to make up his mind and decide if he wants any of those in life, and of course with me, because I cannot keep waiting for him. He said he had been looking at housing options for us and does want to get married, but thinks he does not want to bring children into this world. In so many ways, he has told me it's not worth it to have a kid and it's selfish to bring one into this world. While I somewhat agree, I do want to be a mom, and he knows that. While I don't want to say I gave him an ultimatum, I did tell him that if he doesn't want to have children in the future, we would have to break up right now. He said he's not sure and might change his mind in the future and want to have children because we are so compatible and knows our relationship is strong and healthy for that. On the other hand, he also mentions he hopes I can change my mind in the future and will just be happy with our fur babies. What do I do? Do you think we can continue our relationship when we can't agree on a topic this big?
Well, we've had many people with this topic. This isn't the first show. Go back in some of our shows and you'll hear about it.
Yeah.
So my first response was, at this age, and you're looking at what's going on in our world, and you see what's happening in Ukraine. You see what's happening with, politicians and the world leaders, and you think, how can I even think about bringing a kid into this nightmare? And it goes back to a conversation that I mentioned last week with my sister, where I said, was there any time, do you think, throughout history that the grandparents sat on top of the rock looking on at the rest of the family saying, do you think they'll be okay? And we all realize that it's been going on this way for thousands of years and maybe even millions of years.
Yeah.
And population and the world keeps rolling on. You can't stop life because you are concerned on the bigger picture, because for some reason, things surprise the world every day, and it moves on and goes forward. And,
it's true.
And we've had this conversation last week or 2 weeks ago, where some people are very clear that they have no interest in kids, doesn't work for them. Whatever their life experience was, they are both very comfortable with that thought. And I say, bless their heart, they know what they want.
Right.
But for the fact that you do want children, and you know that it's an important part of your life, then you can't risk that going forward. And I get it's scary for him at this point in time. I don't know where his job is, his security. He can't imagine with today's bills, but together you guys will build that life and you'll make it happen.
Right.
So you are on the right path, at least, to really consider this and say, I need to make a choice now. As much as I love him, this is a deal breaker. And then he can go sit by himself at home for a day or two or three or a month or two. And either you're going to have moved on, or he'll say, something, I cannot imagine life without her or with having children with her.
Yeah.
And this is called stretching. I call it stretching the muscle or working the muscle, because when you get a little pressure in a relationship for growth, I don't think if you were any kind of athlete in life and you'd have to train, sometimes you have to push those muscles a little stronger than normal. And what would happen to those muscles? They would feel a little pain.
Yes.
A little sore.
Yes.
A little sore, and pain's good because it makes it stronger.
That's right. Well, and this is also very reminiscent of the other week, because he's also doing things like when they are around their little cousins, nieces, and nephews, he says it makes him want one in the future, but he just cannot make up his mind. So she's also dealing with that roller coaster of the back and forth. Mm-hmm. So this needs to get figured out, especially 3.5 in.
They're 23. Is that what they said?
24 and 25.
24, 25. You're right at that point. You really are. I look back at my parents that were, my mom was pregnant at 18. I was born when she was 24. No, my mom was 28 when I was born. Excuse me. She got first child was at 20. She got married at 18. So it's different today.
My parents were 25 when they had me.
Yeah, look at you. the brightness of their eyes. Anyways, so I would say it's good to know what you want, and you'll have to find out what he wants, and you guys need to make that choice and decision, at least to identify that for you to stay in the relationship, to continue growing, that this has to be a consideration or a desire that eventually this is going to happen, because you're basing your going forward with him on this.
Right.
Okay.
Next. Number 6.
Let's go.
Hello, Jerry. I love this podcast so much. As someone with extremely emotionally unavailable parents, it is so nice to hear advice from the parental perspective.
I'm here for you.
My husband and I are both 26. We have been together for almost 7 years and have 2 children. I've been finding myself a little unsatisfied and unhappy the past year or so in our relationship because there is no spark, passion, or romance anymore. We are fortunate to have time away from our kids, and we have date nights, but they don't even really feel like a date, just like friends hanging out. I know the honeymoon phase isn't forever, and I don't expect sunshine and rainbows 24/7, but my husband doesn't understand that I want excitement and romance. He's an amazing man, amazing father, an amazing husband. He's kind. I trust him entirely. He's good to me, but he is very simple and content with a boring life. He says he sees no issues. We're comfortable with each other, so things aren't going to be exciting and romantic anymore. I feel like you can always choose to make things exciting if you want. I've tried on multiple occasions to express myself, He understands what I'm saying, but I just don't think he desires the same thing. I've given him multiple examples of things that would be more exciting and romantic even, but there still is no change. I try on my end, but I'm not met in the middle, so it doesn't exactly work out. Counseling really isn't an option with our financial situation right now, and at the end of the day, I'd rather live a boring life with him forever than someone else just for excitement and passion. But how do I get past this feeling of lack and resentment for our relationship?
So many people, so many couples going through children and what children have to offer and the time that you invest both together in these kids, that you find out when they leave at the age of 18, that you look at your mate and you go, who are we? And how did this happen? Because you had no problem, playing bunnies in the field when you were young, but once those little bunnies showed up, it took such exhaustion to go, create the house, financially support the house, and do everything. I do think that you can also kick the fire. It's like when you're out at a barbecue pit and you see the fire getting down to a slow smolder. Somebody's got to get up and go get the sticks and put the sticks on that fire and get it to build up. And you might have to do that in the lack where he might be at this moment, and let him see a side of you that really made him feel the excitement that you have. So you may have to kick him in the ass, say, honey, you and I, we're going to, mom and dad have got the kids today. And you and I are going to go get down, we're going to get bikes and we're going to go ride the beach. Or you and I are going to go do this. And you have to do something that he is going to have a fun time doing with you.
Something different.
Yeah, something to get you out of that rut. It might just taking him and going skiing. You may have to go, figure out how you're going to save up for this or do something, but to go do that day adventure or a weekend adventure, that's going to be something that you guys can really go spark some romance. And it might be kicking that fire, making him wake up to see who you are again. Because obviously he's complacent.
Yeah.
And, sitting there at the end of the couch saying, honey, you're not romantic anymore. Or going up to him and, just trying to make out, he just may not be there at that time. You got to really get him on a different plateau where you guys are totally out of your element.
Yeah.
To re-kick off and reset that fire. And that's what I think, that's what I suggest.
Yeah, I think it's those different kinds of experiences that really do that. I think about studying abroad in London. And I went in and I knew nobody. And you're going through kind of this crazy experience in a different country. And I made a couple really close friends on that trip just because you're out of your, what you're used to, and you're kind of put out of your comfort zone a little bit. And it just creates this bond really quickly. So almost with anyone in your life, a spouse, a friend, a family member, if you feel like things are fading, it reminds me of like you saying, you know what, Taylor, we're going to go camping.
Oh, that was funny.
So it just reminds me of that kind of energy, that kind of idea, to where it's like, you know what? I know you want to be boring, but we're going to go camping and we're just going to do it and see what happens.
You and I, and it doesn't have, and it really can't involve your kids, because your kids were never part of the romance. Romance is your own intimacy with you and him. So find a place for your kids.
Yeah.
If you could find your mom or dad or someone that you trust, that they'll have fun with, that they'll have an adventure with, and let them have their adventure. And you and your husband go have your adventure, but you're going to have to spark it and surprise them with them and just say, honey, we're doing this.
Right.
And I'm not telling, or we're going to go do something. I'm not telling you what it is. And all of a sudden you're making him pack. He sees that the car is packed and there's camping shit. He has no idea what you're doing. And next thing you know is you're telling him, okay, baby, grab that shit. We're going to go, pump this tent. We're going to be under the stars.
Yeah.
It could be something. It could be anything, whatever it is that's totally out of your ordinary, that you are a woman that he has not met before. Be the woman that he has not met before.
Yeah.
or it's been a long time since he's seen her.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I got. So
Are we going to have a Patreon?
Yeah.
So everyone, for this show, I want to thank you for showing up. And if you would love to do a couple things. One, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it certainly helps us. And secondly, we're going to do a Patreon. To come join us for the Patreon, do you have a good story for them?
I think so.
On the same theme?
I think so. It'd be very out of character for it not to be.
Well, then it's going to be. As you see, Holly has done very well. She's just hung out. And even though she looks like she's, 16 or 190, whatever it would be in doggy years, she does move around great. She's fine and she's doing great.
Just tired.
She's just mellowed out tonight and just wants to just kind of hang there. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. I'm going to go do the first trip that I've had to the home country. I've never been there, and they say you have to do it once in your life before you go. So I'm going to go do it, and it's a treat for my sisters, and I think it's fantastic. I'm excited.
That's very good.
Good night.
Bye, friends.